This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins, and I want to welcome you here on this 4th of July weekend. So I'm hoping you're having a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I want to share with you, I watched Independence Day last night with Will Smith. Yeah, I've only seen it like 10 times. But I do love that show, and I just, at the very end, I just feel all patriotic. I want to fly the plane and stuff like that. But you know, when he's talking about, you know, it's the Independence Day for the, you know, for the world, you know, and so that freedom, and so it made me really stop and think about that freedom comes with a lot of responsibility, right? And so that freedom means that we're at freedom of choice. So we can choose to make our lives better, or we can choose to make our lives more challenging, right? But the choice is always ours. So the question is, what are you choosing to make your life? So that's my little message for today. All right, so I want to have one quick announcement. It is so Dora's service is on. It's going to be on Saturday. There was an error in the newsletter. Said Friday. The date is right, but the date is right, but the day is not. So it's Saturday, and it's 4 p.m. So please come and join us as we honor that beautiful woman, Dora. All right, so now let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles, and so it is.
So just take a deep breath. Get into that peaceful place where Spirit resides.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. And I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
And here in this quiet place, allow yourself to just take a moment and breathe. Breathe in the peace, the stillness that is the divine, and allow it to permeate your very being. So right here, right now, in the presence and the activity of Spirit, I give thanks. I give thanks knowing that this day is already a perfect idea in the mind of God. Therefore, it must unfold accordingly. I know that each and every person here is lifted by the experience of being here today, or by listening, or by watching. That in this moment, our hearts open wide, our minds open wide, to be ready to receive the wisdom that is coming to and through and as Reverend Karen. That the Bradford's music lifts us. That everything here today supports the expression of the divine in more exquisite ways than we can even imagine. I give thanks for every person who worships today, whether they do so in a church, a synagogue, a mosque, outside in nature, wherever it may be, that here in this day we all take a deep breath and experience the freedom that is the divine. So I release this out into the synchronicity that is both love and law, knowing that it is already so, and so it is. So my reading today is from the textbook in a section called Freedom or Bondage. Freedom of will means the ability to do, say, and think as one wishes, to express life as one personally desires, to be able to merely think and dream of freedom would not be liberty. This is not the world in which man lives at all, for our world is one of self-expression, even though this expression appears to limit them at times. We are an infinite mind. An infinite mind is also in us. It is by this mind that we think. This mind is eternal, therefore we are eternal. This mind is complete, therefore we are spiritually complete, though we do not appear to be so at times. This does not alter the fact that the potential man is just as perfect as the inherent God. Jesus said, "Fear not, little flock, for it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And if it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, we should learn how to receive it and use it." So just allow yourself to breathe in the divine, knowing that you can indeed receive it and use it. So it is.
So good morning, everybody. The song we chose this morning was called "Closer to Free" by the Bodines, and it's got a lot of freedom words and expressions of what people might want on their own terms. Everybody wants to live like they want to live, and everybody wants to love like they want to love, and everybody wants to be closer to free. Everybody needs respect, just a little bit, and everybody needs a chance once in a while. Everybody wants to be closer to free. Everybody want everybody to, everybody free. Everybody needs to touch, you know, now and then, and everybody wants a good friend. Everybody wants to be closer to free. Yeah, closer to free. Everybody want, everybody to, everybody free.
Very
Thank
nice. Yeah. Thank you, Rod. Good morning. Thank you, Rod. That was a perfect, you just gave part of my message.
Well, thank you.
You did. You did good. It's a good start. We're off to a good start, and we have a full house. Wow, look at all us sitting here in the sanctuary on a holiday. It's hit or miss on a holiday weekend. You never know. That's going to show up in the pews. Oh, so welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm still Karen Rice and happy to be the leader of this community. And I'm so grateful that holidays like the 4th of July happen so that I have an excuse to talk about a subject like freedom. So we are celebrating freedom and independence and liberty. And my message this morning is a way that I have permission to talk about all of that stuff, and we're knitting together the secular and the sacred in this magnificent way. Because don't think for a minute that God isn't in the middle of patriotism and politics and everything. Remember, there's no place where God is not. So this is a key theme. This is a message that is really a grounding of everything our spiritual teaching is about. In fact, I have said many times from this very pulpit, I have said that if you look at the first chapter of the Science of Mind textbook, there is, it's the chapter, help me out here, Sue, do you remember? It's the thing itself. It's the thing itself. First chapter in the Science of Mind textbook. It's like a half a page long, and Holmes uses the word freedom 5 times in 3 little paragraphs. 5 times he repeats the word freedom, and it is from that paragraph, that page, where I got the quote that has me really inspired to speak about freedom today. Here's what he said. The seed of freedom. Now, we have been talking about, for the past several weeks, we've been talking about planting seeds of possibility in our life. Today, we are specifically focusing on the seed of freedom. The seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of humankind. But each of us must make that great discovery for ourselves. So there's something in us, we crave it. We don't like it when we feel bound in any way. We have a sense that we are entitled to live our lives freely and be in who we are, to shine uniquely, this personality and this person and this God being, that nobody else is like us. We have that sense. And yet the sense of it is because it is already implanted in us, and this journey of life is about how we continue to tap into it, discover it. In other words, I can't tell you how you're going to do it. You can't tell me how I might find it. We can see it in each other, but our experiences are the very things that call it forward. So I wanted to read you a little bit from that same page where that quote came from in that very first chapter. Dr. Holmes said, "We see abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. Why then, he says, are we still weak and poor and afraid? And then he goes on to say this. You don't hear him ask that question. I'm always sort of making you look the other way in the opposite direction of that question, why, right? So I think it's interesting that he says, why are we still weak and fearful and poor and afraid? And then he says, the science of mind, that's this teaching, this philosophy that he is the founder of. The science of mind deals with these questions. And then Dr. Holmes goes on and writes the whole rest of the book in which he leaves us all the clues to discovery on our own, that we're left alone to discover it on our own. So we're looking at this way. He's making this point that everybody is free to do this in any way that you want, or to not do it. If you think you are not doing it, you are actually still doing it, but you might be making it a little harder on yourself than it needs to be. And anything we do in our doingness, in the choices we make, in the directions that then sort of pushes us, we are beginning a chain reaction. Something always follows the next thing, and then something will follow that. So we're talking about the law of cause and effect, and I think that the message this morning is sort of suggesting that we can be a part of actively choosing which of our experiences will be the lessons in which we most grow. So you may not feel like you are choosing. Sometimes life happens and we feel like I didn't really, how did that even show up in my life? But that's not the point. The point is always what we do with it next, because that's where we always have choice. Life happens, and then we get to select if and how we're going to grow from whatever life has given us or shown us. I love the ancient Sufi wisdom, that's all the Rumi and the Hafiz, all the poetry that we've grown to love in the last few decades. In Sufi wisdom, they say, it is our ignorance of our freedom that keeps us captive. Right? And so Holmes says almost identical words, that there's that way that we just haven't discovered it yet, that we really already have what we need to have a greater experience of what will feel freedom to us. But we have to choose it. So the longer we live, the more experiences we live through, the more situations we encounter, the more relationships we share with other people, which you'll notice is always growing. It's always expanding. We can see if you're wise and you have chosen some of those lessons and how you will proceed from them, you will notice that your experiences are sort of grooming us. And so I love that statement, when we know better, we do better. And I believe that when we are spiritually awake and we're aware of freedom as a choice in our spirituality and the way that we live spiritually, and looking for that deeper perspective of freedom, then we can become more adept at the way we move through future challenges and experiences. So it appears to me, it's just an appearance. You know what Jesus said about that. But it does appear to me that some of us grow and some of us become more clever at how we avoid growing. But do not fear, because the interesting part of life is that you don't have to worry. You're going to eventually get that lesson, because life recycles everything. It will come back at you again, and hopefully you'll be in a more receptive place to see what it is that life is. What is that opportunity of your edge of growth where you can grow in that moment? The nature of life is that we never have it all figured out. We'd like to think that's a goal. We'd like to think sometimes we get frustrated with ourselves because we feel like we should have known better. But the nature of life is that it's constant in the evolution of life itself. So it is a process of becoming. We are always in that process of becoming. So in one way, you could say life sort of keeps us on our toes. You want to pay attention. I think one good example of that I think of in my own growth experience is that I've learned, it took me a long time, but I learned because of this teaching that ultimately I'm responsible for my own happiness. When I was in ministerial school and I was taking a teaching class and we had to write a class, and I thought, I have so many other projects due or papers I have to write. Maybe I should make this fun. So I wrote a class on happiness. It was called Laugh and Be Happy. I've actually taught it here in this community before. And so it's sort of a lighthearted look at life. But what I learned when I was writing that class was the very root of the word happiness, that H-A-P in the middle, has to do with that same thing about happen, what happens to us. And what matters, your happiness comes from what you choose to do with what happens to you. So it's nice to see that sort of intellectually we can understand that we're responsible for our own happiness, because then we don't have to feel like we're a victim to life anymore. Now, I wouldn't say ever anymore. I notice that's what gets my attention best when I sort of get that. Something happens in my life and I notice that I'm starting to feel a little picked on in one way or another. That then tells me, oh, here you are, Miss Karen. Here you are, right at that edge of growth. How will you choose to move forward from here? And I can put it off, or I can ponder it and open myself and receive the wisdom that will be born, maybe not immediately, but in time. And so I always look at it as this beautiful way we accumulate experience, and hopefully we accumulate wisdom so that we see how much we really are in choice. The more we look for that practical application of the spiritual idea of freedom, applying it in a real personal, hands-on way in our own lives, then the more the broader our sort of tool bag is for how to deal with stuff when it comes up. And so we begin to realize that our response to situations is either going to take us closer to happiness, or it's going to push us further away from it. And I want to just be aware. Sometimes I have to be aware that I'm missing it, that the joy is gone, before I can then make a choice to reverse that and make some different choices. I had a real meaty conversation this week with a friend. And somehow in our conversation, the topic of our HOAs came into the conversation. And then the next thing, before you know it, you're just comparing horror stories. You're out trying to outdo each other. Oh, yeah? Well, you want to know what happened to me once? And you get in that cycle. And so I'm just having this talk. I'm just having a casual conversation with somebody. And then I realized how I was feeling, Now, think about it. I'm a California girl. I've been here 11 years, I guess I've been here in close to 12. Getting into my 12th year. And what is the date? July? Yeah, I came in August. August 1st was my first Sunday, so we're getting close there. But I lived most of my life. I was 60 when I moved here. I had turned 60 right after I got here. I never had an HOA. I never had to deal with anything even remotely close to somebody criticizing everything I do or don't do according to their likings. I never had to deal with any of that. So it's hard to not feel sort of abused or they kind of boss you around. Don't you feel like they boss you around sometimes? And it's like they're always watching you. And better than that, you violate something, you get something in the mail with a photograph of how you have violated their rules. Now, that's I can reason that out. But the thing is, I don't think I'm a bad person. Do you notice where the victim goes? I'm not a bad person. I keep my property fairly nice. I do my best, right? And then I get a picture in the mail of that one weed that popped up just before the landscaper shows up, right? You know this. You all know this because so many of us do have an HOA relationship. So instead of, what happened for me is I didn't even notice this was happening, but instead of being proud of how pretty my yard is, I began to try and beat the HOA so that I would always look like I was in compliance. But you can't! Now, I'm going to tell you, when having this conversation with another friend, I begin to notice that the tone of my voice changed. Right? I can feel the cackles on the back of my neck starting to stand up. You know, it's like, everything about me changed. Those are your divine gifts. When you begin to notice that, it has a possibility of reminding you you're in choice. And so there are lessons there. There are lessons there. You know, one of my great, beautiful beliefs that I share all the time with whoever will listen or even pretend to listen, I believe that there's nothing and no one against me. And when I catch myself with the cackles up and the claws out and and like feeling that they're picking on me, well, then I have left my safety zone of love. I am no longer free. I have boxed myself into a position where now I might even be, without realizing it, at war. I might be doing some battle here. So I have this one experience that, we've lived in that house for 7 years. When we first moved in and you kind of get done unpacking, Hugh had a portable tool. So you should have had that. Doggone it. Hugh had it for the back of his truck to put his tools in, or to keep stuff in the back of the truck from flying out when you're on the road. And when we moved in, he took it out of the back of his truck and he put it next to the garage. It was there for 7 years. For 7 years. Now, I don't complain about my neighbor's trash cans being out. Wouldn't it be funny if one of my neighbors was watching this on live stream? Suddenly they quit leaving their trash cans out? No, I'm going to change my own inside thinking. I want you to watch this process happen. So 7 years, that attractive, I must say, it was really quite lovely looking. And one day he dies, and one day I get something in the mail that says I have to move that now. Oh, woe is me. This could not have come at a worse time. My life sucks. It's too heavy. I can't get my arms around it. So I went out there because the HOA took a picture of it and said, beautiful side, nothing, not a weed anywhere. They took a picture of the damn box. So I go out there and I'm going to fix the problem. And I drag the box all the way out to the end of the driveway and put it behind Hugh's truck. Now, honestly, I'm thinking somebody will take it and then I won't have to worry about it. It's a really decent, you would have loved it. It's a really decent box. But nobody took it, but that was fine because I waited until some strong man stopped by the house or I flagged a neighbor down, I don't remember. And I had them lift it up and put it in the back of the truck, out of sight, no problem, HOA's happy. But the lesson is in my face. I can't dodge the lesson. It was just a box. It was just a letter. It didn't have any ill intent until I read ill intent into the letter. It's a copied letter. It's not even all that specific. It has a line where they took the picture and they tell you what it is. So the lesson for me was this question. Why would I choose to feel victimized? Why would I choose to feel like I have less freedom than I did the day before the letter came? It's a small thing, and it's kind of a funny thing. But the lesson then it equips me, my awareness of the lesson is sort of the wake-up that happens inside of me as I begin to apply. So I have to be telling the story to somebody else, feel the hackles, feel the judgment, feel it's like that Shakespeare line, I want to redeem my tarnished honors, right? I haven't done anything wrong. I don't have to redeem anything because everything about me, nothing has changed. It's my idea about somebody else's judgment about me, and it wasn't even personal. See, so there are layers and layers of information here that, you have your own box sitting somewhere on your property. You do. And it's interesting to see that. I want to show you how Holmes addresses this idea. Dr. Holmes said, "The storehouse of nature is filled with infinite good, awaiting the touch of our awakened thought." The storehouse of nature, everywhere around us, filled with infinite good, and it's waiting that touch, that magic moment where we have an awakened thought, where I go, oh my goodness, maybe there's another way of having a relationship with my HOA, right? Maybe there's another way of having a relationship with my next door neighbor. Maybe there's another relationship I could have with the price of gasoline. We are in relationship with absolutely everything. And here's the thing. When we blame, when I am able to say, ooh, they sent me a letter and I didn't like it, I have now separated myself from them. Now we have me, and them, right? Now we have separated, and there is blame in that separation, and that blame becomes like that pointing finger. And the pointing finger, anytime you can catch yourself saying, oh, that person took my peace away, or oh, that incident, that war going on in the Ukraine, I can't even watch whatever it is, you are in a relationship with it. And here's what happens. You have made a distance between yourself and that person or that issue. Now you are standing away from it. And now you are putting meaning in that space, that spaciousness. You're giving an energy to it. You are putting meaning in it, and you are pointing it toward that person or that thing, that issue, whatever it is. And when we do that, we have separated ourselves from the truth of our oneness. And so we are always uncomfortable when we have made somebody else the enemy. And by the way, you can totally go to, your HOA don't care about you unless you go to war with them. You go to war with them. Remember, there are human beings behind those letters that go to your house. You go to war with them, and then now you're on their radar. And so now maybe they really are watching. So we want to mend those fences. And again, I'm just using that as a symbol. It's a much bigger message here. So Holmes said, the storehouse of nature is filled with infinite good, and it's waiting for your awakened thought to spring forth. It's waiting for you to get it, to have that aha moment. But the awakening has to begin with your own thought. So my challenge for you is that you will take this idea with you, and that you will dedicate yourself to find a moment in your life this week where you can have an awakened thought, where you can have that aha moment, where you can be right in the middle of something that you just normally do all the time, but you can see it from a different perspective. So I'm asking you to expect an awakened thought this week. I'm wanting you to joyously anticipate that you're going to have a moment of awareness in your life right in the middle of your own shenanigans. And that you can take that in and not have a judgment about yourself, not have lighten up on your judgments that are out there, but to not then turn it against yourself, because that's typically what we do. If we're not doing that, then we turn it around and we think, well, I'm not doing it right then because I'm still feeling aggravated. The aggravation is the lesson. That's the edge of growth. That's where the gift is. And that's where we have the power to notice and to apply this stuff and to read the rest of the book after the question why, then to see that the discovery is ours and it's already given. All of it is already given. Holmes also said, through our experiences, we learn the truth, and the truth will set you free. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a moment this week where you can have a shift in your perception so that you can have a momentary, even if it's just momentary, experience of feeling freer, of not being victimized, and of making choices that will help you continue on this journey and you can find your happiness. See, even as I was writing this message, even as I'm sharing the story in the details of the story, and I'm recognizing, I'm speaking out loud, I'm articulating how it grew me, I can feel that lift. And in that lifting, the weight lifting, you have a greater sense of freedom. You can move about the world in a little lighter and with a little more ease. We're always standing in the effect of our own beliefs. It just appears to us that it's stuff that's happening out there. But the bonus of having that moment of recognizing, it's a moment of reconciliation. It's like coming home to a greater truth about you, about ourselves. And the bonus is that we begin to realize we don't have to suffer so much. We have suffered enough. And isn't that always about how we move through life? You know, when you view a situation differently, you have a different outcome. You know, it feels different. Everything changes. Every situation in our life is an opportunity for growth, and every experience or condition that we have lived through brings us a greater potential for a higher experience and expression of good and joy and the things we desire in our life. There's a line in the Course in Miracles. This is so profound. I love this. It says, every situation, when properly perceived, becomes an opportunity to heal. Every situation, when properly perceived, becomes an opportunity to heal. Can you see how there's a healing in rewriting that story, that I don't ever have to have that experience again? Don't you wish you could be a fly on the wall the next time I get a letter from the HOA? You know me, I'll probably confess. I'll probably tell you all about it. Holmes said, as I quoted already, Holmes said that truth, through our experiences, we learn truth, and it is that truth that sets us free. Here's one more example. This is a pretty good one. Somewhere in the Midwest, there was a Jewish synagogue that lost their meeting space. So the place where they went to celebrate Sabbath, have their Sabbath services, they had to find a new place. So they it's a small town. They go, everywhere looking for to find a place to rent, and it's kind of hard to find rental space. And they come across a Christian church that is willing to give them space. And it's kind of a good marriage because, they meet on Saturdays and the Christian church meets on Sundays, and it looks like it's going to be a good fit. But I'm telling you, the Jewish people were a little hesitant because it seemed like a really big change for them to be meeting in a Christian church. But they were needy, and so they signed the contract. They take the space, and it comes time for their very first Sunday service. So they have the Sabbath ceremony, and one of the congregants approaches the rabbi when the service was over, and he said, "Rabbi, I'm sorry, but I really have a problem with that big cross on the wall over there." And the rabbi looks at the cross and he goes, "Shh, it's a T for Torah. They don't know." So freedom really is a state of mind, isn't it? Good job, Rabbi. On his feet there. In the book Love and Law, a great compilation of work that had been unpublished until they put this book together, they're writings of Holmes that were from when he very first started writing, so 1918 to 1920. And I found this quote, and I'm paraphrasing. It was a really long paragraph, so I'm going to paraphrase it. But Holmes said, the spiritual journey is about breaking the chains of human consciousness, the chains that bind us. The human journey is about breaking those chains. And then he goes on to say that we break them one link at a time. We break the links one link at a time, link by link, one by one, and it is absolutely necessary that the process unfold in this manner. Absolutely necessary, his words, that we do it a link at a time. Do you know what that tells me? That gives me, just even though I've read it like 6 times already today, it sends chills through me to just imagine that he had that kind of wisdom. So he's like in his 30s. He's just like writing. He hasn't even written the Science of Mind textbook yet. He's still figuring everything out. Not even sure he'd run into Troward's work yet. And here he is. He has this unique wisdom, this vision of seeing. You do it one experience at a time. That's why, we don't get bombarded with everything. I mean, you can get 2 or 3 things in a row. I don't recommend it because you know what happens when you're down. It just feels like it snowballs. Things keep coming, and I can always hear my husband going, don't vacuum, don't vacuum. It's a great story if you haven't heard me tell that story. And so we do it one link at a time, one experience at a time, one situation at a time, one thought at a time. We dismantle the parts that don't work so that we then can now put together the sacred and the secular, and we can see the way that all of life is divine, that God is not missing from any of it. So every time you grab an experience, in the way I'm asking you to grab an experience this week, every time you do that and you see that in spite of what it feels like, God is right there, that there is a truth revealing itself to you right there, and it is exactly the lesson that you need in that moment. Can you open yourself to receive it? Can we apply these principles and grow from our experiences rather than shutting down or defending ourselves or continuing to tell the same old story about them, whoever the other is, whoever we make it in any given moment? Every time we do that, we have loosened another link in the chain that binds us. Take time to properly perceive. Do your work. And we do our work little by little, day by day, one task at a time. And then when we get things moving in our life in a positive way, then we realize we can help others. There's more we have to give now because we're living our life more effectively. But the work is never done. The growth is never done. We are constantly in this process of becoming. And I want to say to you that sometimes life is about 2 steps forward and a step backward, but don't ever lose sight that it is still forward movement. I love the way that Holmes and other metaphysicians speak about it, that it's this upward spiral journey, forever and ever expanding. There's always more. There's always more to learn. I was having this talk with one of my granddaughters just, I believe, yesterday. And she's a mom. Her baby is not even a year old yet. And I love this woman. And I love that technology has allowed me to have a really good relationship with her at this time. It's really fun to be involved in baby Shay's life. So I'm talking to my granddaughter, Erin, and I'm telling, and we're having this discussion about judgment, and she asked me, are all judgments bad? And so it gives me this, this platform where she and I can talk and we can ponder these vast thoughts out loud together. other and sort of see how we think and pick each other's brains. And she says to me, in all her innocence, she's like 25, 26, I don't know. She says to me, you know what you just reminded me? That I had a moment when I was younger, I had a moment of understanding everything we're talking about. It was from Bill Nye, the science guy, right? She said, Bill Nye said this, and I've never forgotten it. So just out of her memory of the moment this quote changed her life, Bill Nye said, everyone you know knows something you don't. Oh. Isn't that powerful? I have a young granddaughter who's a new mom telling me these precious words. Everything you know, everyone you know knows something that you don't know. Imagine that. Every person I encounter has a piece of wisdom that I haven't stumbled on yet. See, that's what happens when we come together. That we get more of the pieces of the whole. We can see a broader perspective. And we begin to realize that it's not about being right or wrong. It's that we're all teachers. But more important, we are all students. So are you a student? Can we humbly pause and quit, telling people everything we think and can we also posture ourselves to be a student and just be open to what that other person might have to teach us? Beautiful quote I found from a man named Dubois, W.E.B. Dubois, who was a contemporary of Dr. Ernest Holmes. He not only lived in that same time period, but he was also raised in that New England area where there was great change. Oh my goodness, in the time that Holmes was born and was raised there, the world was beginning to think in vast new ways, and all of these spiritual ideas were really prolific, and we're so blessed to have so many good teachers that came from that period. But Mr. Dubois was a historian, a sociologist. He's an author. He was an activist, and he's considered a black intellectual. And so he fought for civil rights, and I just did a little peek at all the interesting things he's contributed. And Holmes passed in 1960, and Dubois passed in 1963. They lived their whole lives very close together. Here's what Dubois said: freedom is a state of mind. A spiritual unchoking. It reminds me of taking off a scarf that's been too tight, or for you men who have had to wear neckties when you were in the workplace. Freedom is a state of mind, a spiritual unchoking of the wells of human power. Right? You take that off and you just feel your blood moving through you again. You can feel that power. And superhuman love. Freedom is a state of mind that unlocks a superhuman love. How absolutely gorgeous is that thought? I can just feel even the energy in the room shifts, and you can feel it moving. You can sense a greater freedom in the movement of just even the energy. So that's what I wanted to say today, but I'm going to close with a Joel Goldsmith quote that touched me pretty personally and tenderly. Goldsmith, also contemporary of Holmes. He never had a church, but he certainly has a following. He said, freedom and peace are not dependent upon circumstances. There are those who have been free while they wear chains. There are those who have found peace in the midst of war. There are those who have survived floods and famine. There are those who have prospered in periods of depression and panic. Freedom is a condition of the soul. As we seek peace within, we will find it everywhere else. That's what I wanted to say today. Let's take a nice deep breath. And just feel everything shifting and settling. All of the movement of ideas are now free to fall upon us. And we simply open ourselves to receive that gem of truth and of wisdom that has our name on it. Just feel the love of God within you right now. Feel the freedom of movement of thought as we anchor ourselves in that love. For love indeed is the most powerful force in the universe. Love is that impulse of all of life before it comes into form. Love is that first thought of the Creator, the very essence of that which has kissed us into being, that breath of life that sustains us, that infinite intelligence in our physical being that allows our bodies to thrive. There is that perfect way that all of life is indeed woven together. And this day, we put our attention on that woven way. The secular and the sacred are one. That they cannot be separated. That the presence of God cannot be limited. It cannot be hidden. And in this time of renewal, in this day where we focus on independence, on liberty, on freedom, we allow our minds to have that expansive experience of the movement of wisdom in our own thoughts. For we have aligned this day with the thoughts of God, and therefore there is a holiness within us that is being renewed and refreshed. We can feel something within us, that quickening, that is the movement of love, the impulse of God as love, that allows us to redefine peace and freedom and order in such a way that we are not victims, that we lay down our weapons and we lay down the defensive shields that we have carried, and we open ourselves completely to the fullness of God, to the grace of God. And we feel that grace. We feel it enlivened within us. And we feel it streaming from the heavens and pulling into our bodies right at the crown of our heads, as if we're funnels that are just gathering more and more wisdom, opening to the truth of the divinity all about us and the truth of the divinity within us. So we have every tool. We are fully equipped. We are healing, and we are whole, and we are revealing truth at higher and higher levels. How grateful I am to know that. How wonderful it is to feel that connection, that oneness with life and with each other. How powerful it is to live in spiritual community with like-minded thinkers who are willing to look for the presence of God, to look for those moments of awakening in our own awareness, so that we too can continue becoming in that beautiful way that Spirit has desired in the creation of us. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for all of these beautiful gifts and all that are yet to come. I release these words into that divine law that always responds affirmatively. I let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right, Bradfords, thank you. I am grateful for you. So I too did receive that letter with the picture on it from my homeowners association. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So thank you. And one more quick announcement. It's really funny that the Dining with the Dudes, they think that you guys come here not for Reverend Karen's message, but for their meal. So I need to let you know that next weekend, I was told that I need to let you know that next weekend is Dining with the Dudes. So please come back. We're going to have plenty of great food. So next Sunday. So, all right. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So let's say our joyous giving affirmation together. But wait, before we say it, sorry. I want to remind everybody, I just forgot two more things. One is we're not passing around the offering plate. That we have drop boxes in the back of the room and one in the bookstore. So you can fill out the card, put your information inside the envelope, and drop it in the black box. Your tithe, your giving gift. We really appreciate that. And I forgot what the other thing was I was going to tell you. Oh, yeah, one more thing. That call to prayer after service. So if you need prayer, we have a practitioner available after service, so please come up front, and we will be available to pray with you. So now we'll say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. So good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I'm not gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive.
Yes, it does. All right, so let's say our closing affirmation together. I am always becoming So I make choices that support my happiness and my good. And so it is.